Hello and welcome to the Metal Pack Pod, the industry's leading podcast for the global metal packaging industry. The Metal Pack Pod is brought to you by the Metal Packager, the number one digital resource for the global metal packaging market. With over 7,000 monthly users in over 150 countries globally, be sure to check us out on metalpackager.com. I'm your host Alex Fordham, and joining me today is Kim Kizer. With a career of more than 25 years as a manufacturing professional, Kim has been Vice President Sales and Marketing of CCL Container since 2015. CCL is North America's leading manufacturer of recyclable aluminium aerosol cans, custom aluminium bottles, barrier systems, and other speciality aluminium packaging for global consumer brands. Through her efforts, the company manufactured more than 600 million containers and generated revenue in excess of 400 million in 2022. During the show, we talk about Kim's drive as a single mum, determined to be self-sufficient, owning a home and giving her family a good life. Kim's tenacity, integrity and never taking no for an answer has brought her continued success and serves as an inspiration for today's women looking to get the most out of their business, careers and life in general. But before we begin the episode, we must give special mention to our sponsors, PPG. Their range of innovative and sustainable solutions enables its customers to protect and beautify the world. Now on to today's show. Morning Kim, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, looking forward to an interesting conversation about CCL and not least your sort of career and background within the industry. So looking forward to an interesting conversation.
Absolutely. Looking forward to talking with you. Always trying to mentor other youngins coming up through the ranks.
Absolutely. We'll get on to that kind of succession planning within the industry later on. But just for perhaps the uninitiated, if you can provide a bit of background behind CCL, just perhaps provides a little bit of an overview about yourselves as a company.
Yeah, so CCL Industries is a global packaging company, and we have three divisions primarily in packaging. We have some other things that CCL does, but the three primary packaging segments that we have is aluminum containers, impact extruded aluminum containers, which is my space. Then we also have plastic tubes, and we also have labels. Labels is our biggest platform regarding from a global perspective. For the aluminum tubes, we only have that platform in North America.
Excellent stuff. So you mentioned that you yourself are just in the impact extruded aluminium aerosol market. So if you perhaps provide a bit of an overview with the state of health with that industry, so to speak, at the moment, it would just be interested to see how sort of your assessment on the strength of the industry at the moment.
Actually, it's going very well. A lot of sustainability is driving some of the organic growth within our industry. You know, typically this 20, 30, 40 years ago, this business was mainly aerosol driven. And right now with the sustainability and with the focus of the new generation on the environment moving forward, we're getting a lot of things that are moving into aluminum out of plastic. For instance, like water bottles, packaging for detergents and hand soaps and things of that nature. The new generation is driving the sustainability, which I think is a good thing. It's also a good thing for CCL Container specifically because it's driving new markets into our space.
Absolutely. So that's interesting because we've had a few podcast conversations recently, and particularly in the two-piece beverage can market, we've seen a bit of a slowdown this year because of the explosive growth we've seen in the last 5-6 years. Simply things can't continue at that pace. I wouldn't say the market has been spooked, but certainly things have slowed down in 2023 in the beverage can market. So you're saying that you're not really seeing that in your side of the segment, and it's actually still we're still seeing that wave of sustainability and anti-plastic sentiment towards metal packaging.
Yeah, we absolutely are. And one of the big differences between, say, like a Coke can or a Pepsi can or a beer can, it's very thin. It's basically a single use vessel. What we do in our space is a reusable vessel. So the walls are heavier. You can put these things in a dishwasher. I'm specifically talking about water bottle kind of things. So they are absolutely reusable. And so that's how we're trying to get around the sustainability, is you can use it several times prior to pitching it out the door. You can, I mean, a lot of people use it for promotional items, which I think is good. Like souvenirs is some of the, the professional sports venues or things of that nature. So that's kind of where we see our growth, is in that section.
In terms of brand owners, though, I suppose there's a fine line between reusability and obviously making repeat sales and repeat business. So how is that a factor at the moment as well? You're kind of seeing brand owners deciding whether to stick or twist in terms of really going down the sort of the reusability route with regards to sort of sustainable packaging, or are they fully bought into it on the brand owner side?
No, they're actually fully bought into it. Like I said, this generation nowadays, they're really pushing environmental focus. And so I don't think that's going to go away. Right now, plastic continues to have a little bit of a bad name. I will say this is that plastic will find a way to market a recyclable kind of thing, but I think that's 5 to 7 years off before the generation that's concerned about it today. And I mean, everybody is, but the new generation is what's driving this sustainability packaging into recyclable, truly recyclable packaging.
Absolutely. Just want to get onto your background as well. I mean, it's certainly metal packaging market is always, and can making has always been seen as a very male dominated environment. So being a woman in a man's world must have been, I know sort of certainly things are changing in terms of glass ceiling for women in business, but certainly the first few years must have been interesting, and you, I'm guessing you had to adapt as a result initially. So yeah, it must have been interesting trying to cement your position as a businesswoman essentially.
Yeah, it's funny. My story is, it's kind of a unique little story. I don't have any formal education above high school, so I didn't go to college. I didn't go to business school. I didn't do any of those things. So basically, the way I started out with CCL is 30 years ago. I started out as a temporary, and I didn't start out in the container division. At that time, we also had a filling division of aerosol cans, and that's where I started out. I was a temporary employee. I went into purchasing after that. Once I told them they had to hire me if they wanted to keep me, some of the comments was, "You work harder than some of my normal guys," and I'm like, well, So anyway, so I went. Then I was with those folks for about 8 years, and 8 to 10 years, and then we sold that division off. We divested that, and so now I'm with the container division. And when I come onto the container division, I come on just as a regular sales rep, and it was tough. I mean, it's a lot of perseverance. It's a lot of, you have to have confidence. One of my phrases early on in my career was "fake it till you make it" kind of thing, and that's what you have to do, especially being a woman. I think that I was probably overlooked. I was promoted to VP of Sales about 7 years ago, but I think I was probably overlooked about 5 years prior to that, basically because of that male dominated environment. And that's the glass ceiling, but I was able to get through it. And it really is about hard work and confidence, and just keep going. Today, I mean, to me, it never was a job. After the first couple of years, it never really was just a job. It was never just a burden, a way to make money. It really is a passion that I have, and I've learned quite a bit because of that.
No, that is interesting. So you're saying that certainly as a woman, you have to work almost twice as hard to get where you want it, get where you want to. So no, congratulations on that. And I suppose with regards to having a family life as well, trying to balance the two is never easy as well. So I'm just curious, do you think things are changing, or do you think there still is that traditional? I know it is a traditional industry that we're in, but we are seeing more women in packaging, women in business, but do you still think the fundamentals are still there, that the barriers to entry for young women in business is still difficult? Because
I think it is. Yeah, I think it's difficult. I still think it's difficult. But I think there are more opportunities for those women that want to play in a man's world a little bit. But I still think it's probably primarily male dominated. People don't, I mean, people don't look at women as in packaging, but it's going to change.
We interrupt this episode for a brief segment from our sponsors, PPG.
Packaging coatings from PPG draw on our company's 140-year history of innovation. We never stop improving our solutions to meet the evolving needs of can makers and the marketplace. That spirit of innovation results in technology like the cradle-to-cradle platinum-rated PPG Innovel Pro. PPG Innovel Pro is the latest enhancement to the world's #1 non-BPA beverage can coating. It still doesn't use any bisphenol ingredients, but experienced can makers report that it now sprays like an epoxy. Follow PPG Packaging Coatings on LinkedIn or visit packagingcoatings.com to learn more about why PPG is the coatings partner for can making excellence.
Yeah, do you think also some women get pigeonholed into certain roles? You see a lot of women in business in like marketing, PR, those sort of roles where actually when you're talking sort of senior management level jobs, as you were saying, it's taking you perhaps longer than if you were a man. So do you think you can kind of get pigeonholed into certain roles? So the men go out there and sell and put the numbers on the board, and the women are in the kind of the administrative and the behind the scenes role. Do you still think that those fundamentals are still kind of in place?
I do kind of think that's kind of in place, but I do think it's changing. And why I say that, for an example, for the CCL Container division, we just hired for our general manager in our Pennsylvania facility. We just hired a woman for our general manager, which is basically operations. So I run the sales side, commercial side of the business, and she runs the operations side of the business. So it's encouraging that CCL Container is really, leaning forward and looking to do things more, giving everybody an opportunity, regardless of what your gender is.
Absolutely. I wanted just to pick up on one of your points you made as well when you said about the fact that you had no formal education, etc. Do you think that would ever happen now, that you were kind of almost a one-off when you started, and you didn't take no for an answer, and you almost like the American dream, isn't it, of put the hard work and you get out what you put in? But can you see that happening now with regards to, I mean, you have so many sort of university, college education for even in the engineering sphere. It's very difficult for someone just to knock on the door one day and come in as a very junior member, and then to rise up to vice president sort of level. So do you think that is something that we won't really see again, or do you still think there is opportunity if you just the old-fashioned concept of hard work?
I absolutely think, I hope so anyway, and there is opportunities for folks that don't want to go the education route. Further education is not for everybody. That's not the way everybody learns. And by saying that, I think I might have mentioned this to you before, but my mother is a great role model to me. She brought herself up from poverty. She had 4 children, divorced. We were on government aid. We were on public housing, the whole 9 yards. She got a job, started as a temporary employee at Pfizer's, and she rode up through the ranks and become a senior leader. And so I kind of had somebody to look up to. I hope that I don't have daughters, but I have granddaughters, and I hope that they see me that way too. It can break through that glass ceiling that way. I don't think education is always the way to go. I think it's really on the job learning. And I think that it's really a lot of perseverance. You have to push. Don't take no for an answer. You have to continue to push. You have to learn. And I just think that you can still do it. I even think that's okay for men. I just think any young professional that wants to drive up through the ranks doesn't mean that you had to have an education. And I often try to give folks or hire people on my team that maybe don't have education to see, a diamond in the rough kind of thing. So I have a lot of patience in that area, because I know that's how I started.
No, absolutely. And sometimes those that have not had a silver spoon in their hand, so to speak, they end up working harder as a result, because they realise that you can't get anywhere without hard work and seizing the opportunity. So I just want to get onto the point as well, is where the next generation of Kims, so to speak, with CCL. Are you involved with mentoring programs, or as you said, learning on the job with apprenticeship schemes, etc.? Is that something that CCL are placing an emphasis on, because it is quite a mature industry, so to speak? So and young people these days, I know we mentioned about hard work, etc., but young people, it seems like, to move around, don't stay in a job for too long, and this industry doesn't, from an outsider looking in, doesn't always seem to be particularly sexy. It's not gaming or tech or that side of things. It's
That's
good old fashioned,
right.
good old fashioned hard work. But to be honest, it's all about people, and it's a terrific industry to be in. So anyway, sorry, I'm preaching to the converted, so to speak. But no, to my original point, is there what are you guys doing to try and hopefully get the next generation of talented people through the door at CCL?
I think CCL Industries as a whole, I think we do a really good job of trying to bring in the next generation to continue the growth and the success that CCL has experienced. I think we're a very successful company across the board. So I think that we everybody in a leadership role, we do mentor these people. Some people have official mentorship kind of things, or we just bring them in on a younger side and try to develop them into the people that we need them to be. But we're always looking for bench, and we're looking for the next generation to take CCL into the future. Absolutely.
Excellent stuff. So I just want to move on to just a couple of final points, really, in terms of the aluminium packaging market. I mean, what are the general trends that we are seeing apart from sustainability? I know we've kind of covered that in detail, but are we seeing more drive towards efficiency savings and that side of things as well? Is there any other sort of points to note for perhaps those in the industry that aren't sort of quite as well acquainted with your sector?
Yeah, I think the one thing about aerosol specifically, which is what container was basically founded on very long time ago. It was all aerosols. I don't think aerosols are growing at leaps and bounds organically. They're not. So I think it's a slow, mature market. There's a lot of, the competitor used to have it 2 or 3 years ago. Now we have it. It's really a pricing game, unfortunately. Yeah. But there's a little organic growth, but not a ton. Right now, what we're seeing in the industry is all about sustainability packaging.
You mentioned about the fact that things become more price driven. Is that something of a concern that, years ago it used to be about offering the best quality or point of difference in terms of service? Is it purely to do with price now, or do you still think there is room for that relationship building and quality of service?
No, that's actually what our what CCL Containers strategic plan is, to provide service, because the most expensive can that any marketer will have is one that's not on the shelf, and somebody's going to pick up another marketer's can. So we absolutely drive service. That's our story. That's how we survive in this space. Regardless of the pricing, but it's a fairly price driven industry. It's a very mature industry. So we continue to try to drive innovations in the operations and things of that nature, try to get creative on how we manage scheduling. But it's mature. It's a mature market.
Yeah, it's about incremental change slowly over a period of time, rather than sort of revolutionary, making too many fundamental changes, because ultimately, the brand owners are mature companies, and it's all about volume. So you don't want to necessarily rock the boat too much. So no, I totally understand that. Just in terms of sort of my final takeaways, it's been a really interesting conversation. So you mentioned about you're happy to hire sort of rough diamonds and sort of that side of things. I mean, what are the kind of 3 things that you look for in people that you employ? Just maybe just three sort of key traits. I'm just interested to see from your side of things, building a team, what you sort of value as a business professional.
Well, in the sales sector, which is where I live, in the commercial side, the number one thing today with the new generation is you can't be afraid to travel. I mean, you still have to have face-to-face conversations with customers. In a business as mature as this, it really is about relationships and management of those relationships, as opposed to, cost and other things like that. So, I mean, you have to be able to travel. That's the number one thing that I ask. The other thing is you have to be able to talk to people. You have to know that. And then the third thing, which is almost the most important for me, is you have to have a lot of confidence, because you're gonna stumble. You're not always gonna have all the answers, but if you're confident and you can get back to them with answers, then I think that's a key trait.
Absolutely. No, that certainly sounds like a good idea in terms of the perfect potential employee that you're looking for. So no, that's that sort of brings us nicely to the end of the conversation. It's been a real interesting sort of background into your career and your profession, also the drive for CCL and the continuous improvement there. So no, it's been a pleasure, and we'll look forward to catching up with you soon, Kim.
All right, very good. Thanks, Alex.